Coming, ready.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's make sure that small six is good. All right. Hey. All right.
Wait, what page?
Good morning. Today is Daf Gimel Maseches Bava Basra.
Oh, Gimel. Oh,
So we actually have an Ikadami, sort of continuing a conversation we had yesterday. But the first question was we dealt with yesterday. We talked about the Mishnah. They agreed to build a wall. I don't know if they agreed or not.
okay.
But there was also a point of contention. I'll take six. Right, yeah. So there was a point of contention regarding what was the agreement and what was the size of the field. But anyway, so the law of the Mishnah was: did they basically agree to divide it, or did they agree to build a wall? And there was a machlekes, and now we have Lishna Achrina top line on today's Daf Gimel, which is Daf Gimel, and away we go. Lishna Achrina top line. Lishna Achrina. Some say it a different way. So, what is the understanding of the word mechitza in a Mishnah? It means pluksa, right? It means that two people, right? Means they want to make a division. And once they decide to divide it, then you can go ahead and once they decide to divide it, so maybe the guy says, okay, we both own this area, let's split it up. And the guy never agreed to a wall, but once you do that, maybe you can force it. Alma hezekriya, and why would you be able to force it? Alma hezekriya shmei hezek, because it must be because seeing is considered to be damage. So God says no. What does it mean when these mechitza means Buddha means a wall, right? As we see in the Brisa, as it says over there, the Tanya, like we saw this Brisa, right? A person has puts up a vineyard next to a field. He has a wall there, it falls down, so you can tell the owner of the field, you can tell the man, the owner of the vineyard, go ahead and build a wall. It breaks down again. Build a fence. If the guy does not go ahead back and rebuild it, like Gadra, so then the owner of the vineyard is obligated for damages. The Tama, the reason our Mishnah is Deratsu, because they agreed to build a wall. We did not agree to build a wall. It just says divide it. Maybe you can't someday you can't obligate the other guy to go ahead and build a wall. Alma hezekriya, lav shmei hezek. From we see from here that hezekriya, right? Just seeing other people's land is not considered to be a damage. So the Gemara says,
why is only the guy with the parent?
Right. So over there, so l'chayr that the field was there first, and he was coming afterwards, right? Same issue, right? You can't do it together. So right. So it says you can't plant a vineyard in a field. So the Gemara says, ihachi. If that's the case, Baina is a kaisa. Why? So why did say the Mishnah say Baina is a kaisa? Should say Baina. So if we're already talking about they agreed to make a wall, say the partners agreed to make a wall, can obligate the other guy to build a wall. Just say build it. Right? Ihachi, Baina is a kaisa. Baina is something about it. Should say Baina so. Elamai, what are you going to say? It means pluk. So our Mishnah means the partners agreed to divide it. Ihachi, Sharat Salas is mechitza, Sharat Lach says about it. Sharat says Lach says proper lashon. Right? Grammatically correct. So the guy says, no, so when people say, look, come, let's make a division, it means let's go divide. And it's another way of saying it, even though it's not completely accurate. That's how they say it in the streets. The hezekriya, shmei hezek. I understand if hezekriya is considered to be a real damage, my area so even if why you say they agreed to go ahead and divide it, I feel a low rut. So even if they did not agree, you should be able to go ahead and force it. It's considered to be hezekriya. So Rabbi Yechon Mishnasnu. Excuse me. Our Mishnah is dealing with a case where there is no din chaluka. Din chaluka means after dividing it, each one has an area of 4 by 4 amos. So therefore, right, double that is 8 by 4, right? So in other words, the land was less than 8 by 4. Therefore, you can't go ahead and force it, even though it has a griya. And we're talking about where they agreed to go ahead and do it. So Mike Mashma, the last bay din chaluka. Right, come and teach us when there is no din chaluka, kiratsu pligi. Right, you can tell me say that. Okay, let's say it was 8 by 4. They say let's say it was only 6 by 4. So each one will get a 3 by 4 lot. Right. So the Gemara says let's say there's no din chaluka, but if they agree to go ahead and make a wall, kiratsu pligi. Right, but if they want to go ahead and build a wall, they can build a wall there. Well, Tanina, we learned this already. Amasai, when we talk about forcing, I want to go ahead and build a bizan change name, but they don't agree to a vow. We have a mission. later on says, "I was on Shashem, right?" But they both agreed. I feel even less than that. They go ahead and divide. So we already have a Mishnah teaching us this. The Gemara says, "No, if it was from over there, half I would have thought afilu pachais bikan." That which they said, if they agreed to go ahead and divide it, so maybe if they agreed to divide it, if it was 6 by 4, each one will get a 3 by 4 piece. But okay, we agreed to divide it, so maybe it means I could just go ahead and but mifes bialma, I put a little stick or a little stake there showing the two differences. I don't build a wall there. Kamash Malan, that once you agree, even though there's no din chalukah, but once they agree to go ahead and divide it and build a division, then he can force the guy to build a wall. So Kamash Malan, so haka b'kaisel. They can force him to go ahead and pull their wallet. So if that's the case, our Mishnah, we learn out it's bigger chiddush that you can go ahead and even put a wall in an area that's not, each one will not end up with 4 by 4. So I just say our case, and certainly we'll know in that case that he can go ahead and do it. So the Gemara says, no, save it, because over there we need the seifa. What's saying the same? It says right. Let's say they own the Sefer Torah together. So you say, okay, let's go divide the Sefer Torah. You get half, and I'll get half. So we see that you're not allowed to go ahead and divide that. You can't divide Treyos or whatever it is. We'll see it later on. So therefore, we see from there. So Kamash V'Lon. So that's the chiddush in that case. That's why we need that Mishnah. Lishna Achrina. Some have a slightly different version of that which we just said. Chiratzu. My hobby. Understand if they both agree to, right? So you say, oh, they have to build a wall now, right? Once they agree to build the wall. So let's say they both don't want to. So the guy changes his mind. He runs to my hobby. Let him go ahead and be chayzer. Says, you know what? If you're going to divide and make me build a wall, I don't want to build a wall. Right? When he makes a kinyan. So he says, I said, why are we talking about a case of where the land is too small and they agree to do it? Why are we taking a case? But let's say it's already large enough, it's already at least 8 by 4, where there is din chalukah. And even if they don't want to go ahead and put one up, nevertheless, he's got to go ahead and put one up. The Gemara says, no. If we learn a case if it was 8 by 4, there's din chalukah, even the guy didn't want to. I would have thought, I would have thought that what if it was talking about a case if it was smaller, afilu ratsu even if they both said let's go ahead and build divide it and build a wall, nami lo kamash malon, that you could go ahead and put a wall there. Mar says
So you can force the other guy to put a.
But not if there's right. Our Mishnah we see that once they agree to it, even if it's not a din chalukah, even if each one's only going to end up with 3 by 4 instead of 4 by 4, they're allowed to go ahead and force the wall. So God says, and who says you can say this? The Sefer says, when they both do not want, but they do want, then Yachloku. Then they do divide it. So you see, when they both want it, they divide it. So my love akaisel is it not talking about what else are they dividing? They're dividing the wall, even though there's no din chalukah. So God says, no, like Avsimas biyama. So now maybe we're only talking about a marker, and not when there was a wall built. So at least high, at least high. So then it says, okay, so why don't you list only our Mishnah the other one? Like we said, the Sefer Yitzchak the Kisvei Kodesh Avishim writes in Loyaflok. And some says no, because of the Kisvei what's it called? Because the teaches the Chiddush by the by Sefer Kodesh that you can't go ahead and divide it. Now, so that was the Lishna Achrina. So let's go back for a second.
Wait, what does this have to do with Kisvei HaKodesh?
Yeah. Says later on, if there are things that are partners own a Sefer Torah together or Nevi'im, they want to go ahead and divide it, so you can't divide it,
right?
As opposed to a field. So that was what said later on. The next Mishnah, we said the next Mishnah is repetitive of this. So you say no, the Chiddush over there is also talks about Kisvei Kodesh over there. We'll get there later on. Fine. So Gemara says, like 5 lines from the bottom of the skinny lines. So, okay, what's the case of our Mishnah? We're talking about our Mishnah. Is our Mishnah, let's say the field is not each one, if they divide, will not end up by 4 by 4. Let's say the total is 6 by 4. So each one will end up with 3 by 4. So if there is no din chalukah, so even if they want them, my hobby. So even if they want to, okay, let them go back. So Rabasi and Rabbi Yechon, where they made a kinyan. So Gemara says, who cares? Okay, so they made a kinyan. So they'll say, okay, we'll go back. By hobby, why is it a good kinyan? Right? It's only words. So the answer is Bishakana Miyadan Baruchais. So let's say they made a kinyan, each one measured out, this is going to be mine. They made, let's say, a kinyan sudar, and therefore they acquired the land. So therefore, it's not just, hey, we're partners in it, right? In other words, we own each part 50-50. Rather, they divided it already. They divided it because each one made a kinyan.
Okay.
And Rav Ashi Amar Kagoyin Shahalach Zeb B'Sech Shalom V'Hichzik V'Zeb B'Sech Shalom V'Hichzik. Each one goes around and makes a kinyan of land. They plant, they sow, they plow. So whatever it is, you do that on your parcel. So therefore, that shows bias. Therefore, that's the reason why that this division, they can't just go back, right? Because they already made a kinyan. And Malcolm Shnagal us. So we said in our Mishnah, we had 4 different cases. We said uncut stone is the widest, is 6. Cut stone, 5. Or smooth stone is 5. Double half brick is 4. And single brick is 3 tfach, right? And remember, if it's 3 tfach, and then each side donates 1.5. Now, Gavil Avnei Delami Shafi. So now we're going to explain that Mishnah. So when it says Gavil, it's referring to bricks that are not smooth. And Gazis, Avnei Delami and the Gazis are just 5 bricks that are smooth. And the Chsiv, Kolayel Avani Bikaras, Gamidas Gazis, right? All these like smooth, precious stones. So we see that the word Gazis, which was 5, by 5 tfachim, is smooth. And Kafisid is, and then it says Kafisid is referring to Arche Levina, those are half bricks. And Levina, so Arche is half bricks, and Levinim are full bricks. Now remember, the half bricks are wider because you take 2 half bricks and put mortar in between them, which makes it wider. Now, Amalei Rabba Beret, now we're going to have repetitive cases to go both ways. Let's see. Amalei Rabba Beret de Rabba Ravashi. Gavil Avni Shafni Ninu. Who says this Gavil means like the unsmooth stone? The high tefach you say, and the extra tefach from 5 to 6 is the morsha de karnasa, because the parts that protrude, that stick out. So dilbal pagad the gazis havi. Maybe what it is, it's 2 half guzes, and we said a guzes is 5, so therefore half is 2.5, and then you put the mortar in between, right? And that is the mortar that goes in between it. And just like we said, just like we said that the 2 half bricks to the bricks, the high tefach is the beni orve is for the mortar in between, right? So Amarle. So he says, "Lotame kafisin arche minola." How do we know that the kafisin are half bricks and there's more in between minola? Ala gemara gemirla. We have a Masorah that's what it meant. So Gavil nami. So too the Gavil also we have Masorah avdi dole mishafi gemara gemirla. So too the Gavil, it's a stone of 5 which is unsmooth and therefore protrudes to 6. Now, Ethan Amri. Some have
thought that the first case of Gavil was 6.
I said, yeah, it is 6. Because it's basically 5 plus all the jagged edges, and the other one
Guzis is 5.
Guzis is 5 and Gavil is 6.
Right.
So Guzis. So basically
1 for each side.
No.
Why is it 7?
No. There's no 7. There's no 7. There's 5.
Right.
5 is total.
Right.
No, it's 2.5 on each side. But if it's a jagged edges. Then it's not 2.5 on each side, it's 3 on each side. It's a total of 6.
6.
So a total of 6. So it's interesting, the Mishnah is, now we do the opposite way, that from 5 to 6 means smooth to unsmooth. But when it goes 3 is a brick to 4, it's not, it's because of the space in between 2 half bricks. That's the 4, right? The 4 is the 2 half bricks. And the 3 is just a regular brick. Now, the Gemara is actually going to ask flip-flop like we just said. Let's see. So, so the who says the word kfisin, which was 4, 2 on each side, is half bricks. And the reason why it's ever of 2 halves, 2 halves should go is to go ahead and put the mortar in between. What are kfisin? It means maybe it means they're bricks that are not smooth, that protrude, just like right. The high tefach is the extra tefach from 3 to 4 is the morsha karnasa for the jagged edges to stick out. And just like we said, Kigamrina and Gavil, just like I said about the Gavil, what is it? Gavil Avnei Dola Meshafni. Gazis, right? Basically, it's stuff that's not smooth like a gazis. And Avnei, which is in Gazis, Avnei Meshufin, and that's smooth. By tefach is an extra tefach from 5 to 6. What do you attribute it to? The more shekanasa, the part sticking out. So why don't we say also by the brick? It's a jagged brick, which is 4. Why do you say it's 2 half bricks with more in between? Some of the time it reveal out of the mashifi minon. How do we know that a gvil means a jagged-edged stone minon? So Ella Gemara Gemila, we have a tradition in that. So Hakanami Gemara Gemila, so that we have a tradition. So Amar Abaye, 5 lines in the bottom, first word of the line. Shmamino kol beini orve tefach. Anything that between 2 half bricks is a tefach, right? Because 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3, right? Which is the size of a regular brick. But it's going to be a total of 4 is 2 half bricks. Why? Because it's a half brick, tefach of mortar, half brick. So 1.5, 1.5, total of 4. The shmamina kol beinu orve tefach and hani mili betina. That's only with pure mortar.
Hired tefach work.
Yeah, mortar. Yeah, right. It's pretty thick. Yeah,
That's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
About the riksna, but let's say the mortar is like mixed in with other things, so it's not as pure. So you actually need more than a tefach. Because every so slightly different version hani. So that which we said it's what it's talking about, whether like it's not such a clean mortar in between a valatina, but if it's clean mortar, then you don't need a full tefach. You need to be a little less than. So Gemara says, "I remember the gazis the called dot amas goiva havi." So it says when a gazis we said is 5, right? And gazis is a smooth one, and that's 5 wide and 4 tall. Dalat amas goiva. So you have porta chamisha kai and ilo like I understand. So if it's 5, then it can go up to dalat amas. But if it's not 5, it'll be less, right? But the Amatarkasi, the wall between the Heichal, right, and the Kodesh Kodashim, so that wall over there, right, and so it says over there, it was 30 amos tall, right? It was between the Heichal and Kodesh Kodashim. It was 30 amos tall and 6 wide. So if it's 6 wide, it could be 30 tall. So why are you saying 5 wide, 4 tall, right? No higher, right? Doesn't make sense. The ratios are not the same. Right? Yeah. There's a Havi going to Lasi Amasa, but Havi Pusya, Elishisa was only 6 wide. Pushki. The comment was able to stand. The Gemara says, no, came in the Tevach, since it has the extra Tevach, Kai, therefore it's able to stand. That 6 really strengthened it. So the Gemara says, Mikdash Shady, my time a little often. Amatarkasi. Why did they not have an Amatarkasi in the second base of Mikdash? Why did they not have a wall? Why did they have a curtain there? Because the base of the first base of Mikdash was only 30 tall, like Kai. But not above them. But however, since the second base was taller, it would not stand. And how is it taller? Very interesting Rashi here, by the way. Rashi says that the Mishnah Midah says it was 40 amos tall, right? So instead of being 30, the wall would have to be 40. Rashi says it was 100 amos, right? So why? So it's interesting to point out. Rashi says Mea, but those who interpret the Rashi says the reason why he thought it was 100, right, is because it says mem. Mem is what? 40. But lemem, right? So he might have thought it meant lemeya, right? So some interpret actually this is not the second base measure was not mea amos, right? You look at the little footnote in the Mesilas Shas, right? So it wasn't 100, it was 40, but Rashi says 100, right? Anyways, amos. Yeah. So anyway, the point is, right? Let's get it back.
It's like how many stories?
Yeah, it's right.
You talk about like 10 stories.
Right. 6 amos is like 10 feet. Yeah. Yeah, more than 10 feet, but more than like 10 stories. Yeah. Yours says, how do you know it was taller? Right? The Bible says, it says, greater will the second one be than the first one. So you see the second one was taller. And Rabbi Shmuel's machlokes how to touch this pasuk. Some say Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Elazar. Some say it was greater, meaning it was taller, it was bigger. And the other one says, it was longer in years. Second base of Mikdash lasted for 420 years, and the first base of Mikdash was 410 years. And both of them have, and it was true. So the Hav, so Gemara says, fine. The other toss and Abba, the binyan v'idach ne'avid parachas. I understand. Why should you do this? 30-foot wall, like the first base of Mikdash, and then the rest will be curtain. So Gemara says, no, no, the reason why the wall was able to stand is because it had a ceiling it was attached to, and it made it sound. But without a ceiling, it can't stand on its own. Okay, so make the wall taller in the second basement. Instead of having no wall, just complete curtain, have 15 amos of hanging wall. Right now, is with a wall, there is no ceiling on top of it, and the rest will be a curtain. Samar Abaye, he says, Gemiri, we learn either it was all binyan, all wall, or it was all parochas, and therefore you want to have 50-50.
So in Shlomo's basically, it was a solid wall.
It was a wall, right? So Gemara says, so we learn that the kula b'minyan is found by the base of mikdash because the partition was a full wall for the first base of mikdash. And where do you see that parochas was in the Mishkan. Now, Iboilu. Now the Gemara starts to get a little more excited. Let's see. Iboilu. Hey, the Vesidan. First of all, by the way, that what you're talking about was the 5. Was it including the plaster or not? Or maybe it means the brick is 5. Then you add plaster, so a little even wider. Some of them not Yitzhak. Hey, Vesidan is really it's the entire amount included, right? These are because it's not without the plaster. It's not the shira, right? So just then list the amount with the plaster. Why do you have to go ahead the amount without? It must be that this is the full amount. So Allah, remember now, hey, Vesidan. Really, that what you said included the plaster. The 6 basically was 5.4 plus 0.6 of plaster. Says, no, maybe not. Maybe I could say it was without the plaster. Without the plaster, since the plaster was less than a tafa, but I thought it was 6.3. You don't need 6.3, so just write 6. But we do get into decimals. We say, okay, when it comes to, let's say, the bricks, this one gives 1.5 and this one gives 1/2. So you see, clearly, they also talk about, fractions. So I said, no, over there, it was the half plus the half is the whole, therefore it was included. Over here, 6.3, that's not listed in the Mishnah. So Tashma comes in Akara Shamro, we're talking about in another case, but when you have a beam that goes across in order to carry by Erevin. So it says Akara Shamro, Rachva Kadei Lakabo Ariach. In order, it has to be wide enough for you to be able to put a brick on top of it. V'ariach Katzi Levena Shel Gimel Tfachim. Ariach is a half a brick, which is Gimel Tfachim. So half a brick has to be 1.5. But you see over here that a brick is 3 tfachim, and therefore it does not include the plaster, right? Because it just says 3 tfachim. So therefore, if it just says 3 tfachim, it must also not be including the plaster. Because if it was including the plaster, to make it nice, it would be 3.2, not 3. So that says no Hasan Ravisa. Over there was talking about larger bricks and Dikanami, and he calls it further wide. The Tani says there, shall shleish tfachim. It didn't just say it has to be wide enough to put half a brick. And rather, it said it had to be wide enough to put a half a brick of 3 tfachim. Now, why did you have to define a brick? It's 3 tfachim. So, isn't a brick all bricks? Must be. There's big bricks and little bricks. So, therefore, that Mishnah over there was talking about a big brick. But it could be our Mishnah is talking about a brick there, which is 2.8, and there was 0.2 of plaster. So, therefore, it's not a proof. It's still the same thing, but the question is it including the plaster or not? Are we talking about bricks that are actually 3 with a little bit of plaster? Right. So that's the machlekes which the Gemara was not able to answer.
It reminds me from the Torah that it's talking about
in order to carry. So right.
Okay.
So you
need to put a brick on.
No. It had to be wide enough to be. It was how wide does the Korah beam have to be? Wide enough to put a half a brick. But something it has to be at least 1.5 tefachim wide. Right, there is others. Now, 7 completely new halachas getting into building. Let's get into building walls. It gets a little exciting at the end. A person should not go ahead and tear down one shul until they're ready to go ahead and build another shul. Why is that? Some say they might be negligent. They tear down their shul, and all of a sudden they have changed their plans with the money. They said they tear down the shul, they have no place to daven. So my benai, what's the difference? When there's another place to go ahead and daven. Right, according to the first one, they might still not rebuild it. There was the shul for the community. They never rebuilt it. Right, they go ahead and tear down kins. Right, and they're going to rebuild kins in the same spot. Right. So if they do that, there's other places to daven, but they might not rebuild it. So therefore, that's what would be the nafkamina. So Marema, Marzucha, Satri, Ubani, Be Kaita Besisa, Ubani Besisa Bekaita. They used to have an indoor shul, outdoor shul for summer and winter. So during the summer, they tore down the winter shul, and in the winter they tore down the summer shul. So obviously they did it with the place to daven, right? They held like that because as long as they had a place to daven, but they didn't do it according to the other sheet, which says you have to rebuild it first because negligence might happen. So Amalei nothing. Rabashi Gabi Chazi. So Gabu Zuzi Machdi Mai. Let's say they already collected the money. So you're worried about negligence. They might use it. So let's say they collected the money. Now we have money to build the shul. Don't worry about the shul, right? We'll build it. Can't tear it down first. So perhaps they're going to have to go ahead and do something else, such as redeem a captive, and therefore they have to go ahead and do the money. And be able to give it. All right. What about they collect all the materials ready? Not just cash. They got the beams and the cedars and all the plans and the construction and the permits. Then can you tear down the shul and to build it? Perhaps they're going to go ahead and have Peter Shmuel and they have to sell these items and use that money. So it never ends. Even if they build the shul, they're going to tear down the shul and sell it for Peter Shmuel. So no, once it's built, it's ready to use, then they don't sell. We're only talking about if you don't see any cracks in the building, but if the place is deteriorating, it might fall down and be dangerous. Satri, you body, then go ahead and tear it down first. He saw that it was coming down. There were cracks in the shul. And he tore it down. And basically, by Lapure, the Hassan, he basically brought his bed there, i.e., he basically was on the site throughout the Hassan. He did not leave until they went to go ahead and basically finish the complete construction, even until the point where they put the gutters on the outside. First wide line. Ubaba ben Buta, Heichi Asbile Eitza Lohurdus, Lemisre Lebeis Hamikdash. How could Baba ben Buta go ahead and give advice to Hurdus, to Herod, to go ahead and tear down the first temple? Right, it's a very interesting Gemara. So Baba ben Buta gave permission to Hurdus to go ahead and tear down the first temple without another building ready in its place. You can't go ahead and tear down one place until you go ahead and rebuild the other place. Where it says, you can say that maybe you saw cracks, and we just said there's a special condition. If you see it's cracks, it's dangerous, you can go ahead and tear it down. Or shani. The word of the king is different. The law hadrabe. Now, as we're word, a person says that they're going to build it, and they don't know how to build it. But when a king says he's going to do something, he has a campaign promise, right? There's no way he'll break his campaign promise. So if a king says he's going to go ahead and uproot a mountain, then you believe he's going to uproot a mountain, he's not going to go back on it. So Hurdus, let's go into Hurdus. Herod. Of the base Chashmonai Havi. He was an Eved in the family of the Chashmonai, right? So during the time of the Hanukkah, right, by Sheni, so he says, Havi Nasan Eina B'Yisatinakas. So he was fond of one of his master's daughters.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So Yayimachad, one day, Shama Haugaver, he heard a pasuk Baskal, he heard Haugaver, Hurdus heard Baspela, he heard a Baskal, the Amar Kol, Abda, Damarid, Hashta Matzliach. Any Eved that rebels now will be Matzliach. So what did he do? Come, Katlina Lukulu. Arusa Yanukasa. He killed all his masters, all the Chashmonaim, and he left just this girl. He had his eyes on. So, that's right. Yeah. So he kills. Yeah. This is history. Kichad is Havi Yanukasa. When she saw what happened, the mitzvah, so she saw that he can't be because he wanted to go ahead and marry me. That's what she was saying. So he wanted to go ahead and marry me. So what did she do? Salikla Agar, she went to the roof. So she was the last of the Chashmonaim blood, right? She went to the roof because she knew that he wanted to go ahead and marry her. The Rabbi called Amran. She went ahead and she called out, "Kol mandasi v'amram v'es Chashmonai kasina abduhu." I'm the last one. Now, if I don't survive, which I'm about to not do, right, then there's never Chashmonai. So if you have some future generations that says they're Chashmonai, because it's going to be from Hera, right, from Hurdus. But Hurdus doesn't have anyone. He's an Aved, and the base Chashmonai is gone because she's the last one, and she's about to kill herself. So if someone in the future says they're really an Aved, She was the only one left. Kasa, and this girl, she basically jumped off the roof, and there was no more base chashmonai. So Tana, it gets wilder. So Tana, Shavashanim, Beduvsha, he involved her for 7 years in honey. Some say bala, some say it was reasons for physical pleasure. Nigadami, others say lo bala, dami, and so igadami lo bala. Some says he didn't go ahead and bala. So yeah, damila, the bala, damila bala, and those who said he's bala, hatimna liyisra, right? He embalmed her for his yitzhara. But damila, and some say he didn't keep her for lo bala. So hi, the tamna kiyech damabas malach nasiv. He kept her in the house in order to have children with other women, and attribute them to her that they are from the Chashmonaim, from the Malchus of the Chashmonaim. And Amar Mandarish. So then he said,
The Malchus of Hashmonaim.
done after this.
Wow.
As the Gemara said, right? So Amar Mandarish. So he says, I mean, it was from I guess where'd they come from? Matisyahu, from before them?
From the Greek time.
Yeah,
From the
yeah,
Greek time.
the Greeks.
From the Greek time all the way to Horus. So that's like till Horus.
Yeah. Right.
It's 70 years.
Yeah. So he said this is the last line. So Amar Man, so he says, now he starts getting to business. Now Hurda starts getting to business. Amar Man Darish Mikir B'Chicha Tasim Melech. Who is the one who darshan from amongst you, from the pure Jews, non Avadim, right? Non Ger, non them, right? From who? From Mikir B'Chicha Tasim Melech. Who is the one who said it? That was the Rabbanan. Come, heard this got up. Katlu Lakulu Rabbanan. He killed all the Rabbanan there, and Shafke LeBava Buta. Left the Rabbanan Buta. The Mishkal ate some minay, but he left Bava Buta, who was going to head and give him some advice on certain matters. And Hajale Klila Diele Nikolay. Nevertheless, what's that? Hordus put upon his head I guess like a spikes or a porcupine right on top, and poked out his eyes. So he didn't. He wasn't kind to him by not killing him. He didn't, set him up nice. Rather, he still, gouged out his eyes, and we'll continue with this mice on. So, all right, you ready, Jack?